So here's the situation, my wife is in a high-level corporate position at her job. What she does is extremely stressful and I don't blame it for taking a toll on her. Recently though, she's been having a really rough time with work and is clearly stressed out about it. She's visibly upset much of the time, but she doesn't seem to want to discuss the specifics with me. She's even become forgetful and somewhat unuseful around the house recently. She seems to always be thinking about work. She wouldn't talk to me directly about it and I knew I had to do something, so I found her boss's phone number and reached out. I simply told him that she has been listless and despondent recently, and that I worried about her performance at work as well as what it's done to her home life. Basically her boss corroborated everything I was saying, and it seemed clear he felt the same way about her behavior. After some time talking, we both came to the conclusion that a reassignment was necessary, not really a demotion, but the decision was made for her to be reassigned to a less high-stakes, less stressful position. We didn't state it verbally, but I think we both had an understanding that this was in her best interest and our conversation wouldn't need to be brought up to her. After the news came down to her, she became hysterically upset. She thought she was being demoted essentially and she didn't understand why. The thing is, it really isn't a demotion, there's no pay cut involved, just an executive decision that was made for her own benefit. I'm really not comfortable telling her that I was involved with this because I suspect she'll freak out at me, but I do feel what I did was correct, and I believe her boss was reasonable enough to understand that also. DL, Doctor, wife was reassigned at her job after I had a conversation with her boss. She feels she was demoted but that's not really the case. P here. So I have been living with my stepmother and dad for the past few months. I really dislike my stepmom. She is always insulting me for things that aren't fully my fault, like being socially anxious, and she doesn't treat me like a family member. She also refuses to use my real name, because that's her other, older, kid's name too. She calls me by my middle name instead, which I absolutely hate. I told this to her 1,000 times, but she just doesn't care. Yesterday I went shopping with her for groceries. After we got out of the shop and walked over to the car, she noticed her boss a few cars away and went over there to talk. After a few minutes of me awkwardly standing by the car, she shouted to me to go there and introduce myself, but she, as always, didn't use my real name. I decided to ignore her. I hoped that she will realize her mistake and correct herself, but she kept shouting my middle name. She gave up trying after a while and said goodbye to her boss very soon. Needless to say, that she was extremely upset. She remained silent while she was driving home, but I knew that I won't get away with this without a big argument. When we got home she basically exploded. She was shouting at me for like 20 minutes of how I embarrassed her in front of her boss and that I'm immature and childish. My dad also took her side. He understands that I don't like being called by my middle name, but said that I should act like a grown-up and know better than petty revenge. Are they right? Was I acting childish and should I apologize? Update. So I talked to her. She said that she didn't realize how much I hate my middle name, and that she doesn't understand why do I care so much. She also said that she's willing to call me by another name of my choosing, but not my real name, because that's her other daughter's name. I'm not saying that I'm happy with this, but it's still better than my middle name. Sadly, it's impossible to make normal-sounding nicknames out of my real name. I'm sorry that I can't answer everyone, but thank you so much for all the advice and support. Smile. I will try talking to my dad too when he gets home. So I have been living with this dude for about 3 months and it has been a bumpy ride to say the least, but that is a story for another day. Now, because of unrelated reasons, I made an agreement with him regarding my rent so I could essentially move out on a whim, as the rental agreement is monthly if that makes sense. But I assured him that it would be likely I'd stick around for at least a year unless shit happens. Well, my roommate lost his job last month. I'll let you guess why, so he has been living off his savings. His girlfriend also lost her job and has no savings, so he moved her in. Now, at first I had no real issue with this despite not even being asked. After all, I felt bad for them both, but my patience has been wearing thin. While I have my issues with my roommate as is, his girlfriend is 10 times worse. She showers so little she literally smells sour sometimes. She pretty much hogs the living room for herself, laying on the couch watching TLC. She literally eats everything in the fridge and replies with "oh whoops, sorry dude" when I point out she has eaten my food again. She does absolutely nothing around the house despite obviously not working and so forth. Long story short, it feels like a broke job of the HUD has moved into her place. So after yesterday, which was the second time this week she ate everything which was supposed to last me a week, I lost my shit, called my parents, Loaded everything I own in their van and moved out, and I informed my roommate via text that I won't be renewing the rental agreement. Since then I have moved back home for the time being and my phone has been blowing up. Roommate was apparently relying on my money next month as his savings are running out quicker than expected. Guess why? And he is freaking the hell out saying shit like how I can do this. Hell, even Jabba herself has reached out with an apology alongside a promise to be better because obviously she is realizing their predicament. So am I the asshole?